Hello, class. We're now going to be doing some practice with correlations, and we're going to work on assignment 7A from our modules. So here in your modules under week 7, it's going to be 7A correlations. So you're going to open up the data set. It's like colsr.save or something, but it's in week 7 as well. It's right here, colserve._new.save. So you're going to open that. You're going to open that in your Citrix receiver. So you go to vlab.unf.edu, open up your SPSS. So after you downloaded this file to your computer, you can then find it here. It's much easier again if you use a school computer because you can just open it up directly without having to go through VLab. But if you do have to go through VLab, it's vlab.unf.edu, and it'll bring up this page for you. Just click on IBM SPSS Statistics. It'll open it up. I actually already have it opened. It's going to reopen it for me. So now I get a new window open. You're going to click open another file here. And you're going to, if you have it down here on the lower end of your computer like I do, colserve.new save, you can just click and hold the left clicker or left cursor on here and just drag it. So you just hold it down and drag it up, and it'll show up in here. It'll give you, sometimes it gives you like a weird message. So put it here. The folder cannot be found, so I'm going to pick a place to put it. So I click my name. I'm going to click my downloads folder and just click OK. So now I go to, I'm already using it, so just ignore that. So now if I go to my downloads folder here under this PC, so if you don't have this open, click on this PC, downloads, and it'll be right here for you. And you just click on that, and it'll open up. Actually, I want to stay here. It'll open up this data set for you. It should look something like this. Again, much easier if you're using a school computer. So now we have our data set open. Let's start playing with it. So we have some questions to answer here. So first off, we want to identify which of these variables we can actually use. So we want to look at the quantitative variables. The best way to do that is to look here. Ignore this one. This is just participant number. So gender is categorical. You can just look and see it's all ones and twos. This is categorical. You can look again, it's just ones and zeros. Only two options there. Here's this GPA, friend GPA or freshman GPA rather, sophomore GPA, number of close friends, and average evening spent socializing and average evening spent socializing during the summer. And then you have this one, which is I think it's voted, something voting. This is categorical as well. So these variables are the quantitative or continuous variables, the only variables you can work with for correlation. Another way to look at that is to look at the data view itself or the variable view itself, and you can view it right there relatively easily. If it has a label on it, then it is a categorical variable. So let's start working on this. So you put those answers in here, just these variable names. So we want to test the research hypothesis that college students who report having more close friends tend to have a lower first-year GPA. So our research hypothesis is, does this research hypothesis suggest a positive, a negative, or no relationship between these variables? So let's look here again. College students who report having more close friends tend to have lower first-year GPA. So as one variable increases, the other variable decreases more and lower. So we're going to be looking here at a negative relationship. So it's going to look something, if I were to draw a line, it would look something like this. Let me get my line feature open. It would look something like that. Downward directionality. All right. So now we're going to then examine our scatter plot. So let's get our variables, onto our data. So we're going to look at close friends and first year GPA. So let's go to graphs and chart builder. So remember graphs up here in chart builder. And you're going to click OK here. I'm just going to click don't show this again. Just ignore this, press OK. And you're going to click your scatter/dot under choose from. So right here. Then you're going to click your first option. So you're looking at first year GPA. Let's just pop that down here. And now we're going to be looking at, what was it? More close friends. So number of close friends here. Put that in the y-axis. So determining what goes in the x and y is not a huge deal because they're both quantitative. It's going to be a matter of personal preference for quantitative variables for this class. So don't worry about it too much. Don't be too picky with it. Whatever's more appeasing to the eye. So let's click OK. And this is what it looks like. So we can tell right off the bat, there's not really going to be a relationship here. I'm not going to have a p-value less than 0.05. I'm probably not going to have a correlation value much different from 0. So let's confirm that with actually running the data. So we're going to say no here. The relationship is not clearly linear. And we're not really seeing, I suppose we see our higher values up here in the left corner, lower values down here. We're kind of seeing some downward directionality, so we could say sort of, kind of, sort of here as our response to this question. There's kind of a downward negative relationship here, but not so much. We want to see more of a clear line. So now we're actually going to run the statistical analyses here. So let's go to Analyze, Correlate, Bivariate, 2 or more variables, and we're looking at first year GPA and number of close friends. Remember, make sure Pearson's is clicked and two-tailed is clicked. Explanations for that are in my video on NHST and correlations how to. So we're going to go to options right here. And we're going to ask for means and standard deviations. Again, you see that right here. The questions are asking for it, so we want to also get that information as well. So let's continue and OK. So now here's our correlations. We have our n, there's our population. So 60 is going to be the n number for here. So 60 people in each of these variables. Then we're going to look at our means and standard deviations. So our mean here is 3.0128. So we're going to bring that to the nearest 100th value. So it's going to be 3.01. So that is for first year GPA. 3.01. And our standard deviation, first year GPA is 1.07. So now let's look at number of close friends. Our mean here is 5.93. And our standard deviation, 3.35. Alright, now you have your R value. So this is where it gets interesting. So our correlation coefficient is going to be this number right here. So you're comparing first year GPA, this variable, to number of close friends, this variable. Our correlation coefficient, our Pearson correlation, is negative 0.215. So make sure you remember the negative. Degrees of freedom is going to be our n minus 2 in this case. Now to explain this, your n is this number right here, what you already put in, or right here. And we're assessing 2 variables, first year GPA and number of close friends. So we're subtracting those 2 variables away from our n to get our degrees of freedom. So our degrees of freedom are n, 60, minus 2 variables, which in this case is 58. This is going to be our degrees of freedom. And our p-value. If you're confused about that, just rewind it. However, just a quick re-explanation, and n minus 2, because we have 2 variables. If you had 3 variables, it would be n minus 3. If you had 1 variable, it would be n minus 1. So our n is 60 in this instance. We have 2 variables, 1, 2. So it's 60 minus 2, 58. And our p-value, which is our significance two-tailed, as we asked the computer to do, 0.099. So it's going to be about 0.10. That's our p-value. So as we kind of figured out by looking at the scatter plot, this is not significant. This is greater than 0.05. So we're going to have to retain our null hypothesis that there is no relationship here. And this does not support our research hypothesis because we didn't receive significant data. Again, this number was close to 0. It's not where we want to see our correlations for significance, and our significant value or p-value was greater than 0.05. Therefore, we have to reject our research hypothesis and retain our null hypothesis. There's no statistical relationship here. Okay, so now we have to do a write-up of this information. So the easiest way to do this is to plug in numbers. So you can open up your SPSS correlations how-to document, download it, then open it up, and it has a nice written right here, already written out for you in APA style. So you just copy that, go back to this, paste it, and now we're just going to be plugging in numbers. So first we want to identify the test. There's a Pearson's correlation between the first year GPA, so our mean in this case was 3.01, and our standard deviation was 1.07, and the number of close friends. It's our second variable. So you're putting your means and standard deviations here to give the reader an idea of where the middle was, and then how much difference was on average between the participants. So our mean here for number of close friends was 5.93. On average, our population had around 6 close friends, with a standard deviation being about 3.35. So now we want to talk about our correlation, what we found in our correlation. Again, the information's right here. So the formula here is going to be your correlation coefficient, our R. Degrees of freedom are going to go right in here, which was 58. Remember from this number. So we pulled it down from 58 goes here. And then our P, or our correlation coefficient in this instance, was negative 2.215. So the negative's already here, 215. And then our p-value was a 0.1. So p-value is 0.10. So this does not support the research hypothesis that the more close friends you have, the lower your first year GPA. Now we're going to kind of break this down a little bit. So you're telling the reader what test you use, Pearson correlation. You're telling him what your two variables were, first your GPA and number of close friends. And you're giving the means and standard deviations for those. And your statistical notations need to be italicized. Standard deviation and mean both need to be italicized, as well as your P and your R. And then you're going to give the actual significance that you found. So these are actual numbers that tell you if there was a relationship, which is right here. This whole set is going to be the actual values. So just a refresher where these came from, in case you're confused. Our R is here. Our degrees of freedom is right here. And our p-value is right here. Those were all the things came from. So just a quick reminder. And then you want to state kind of what that actually means, because you want to put it in lay terms in case the reader's not familiar with statistics. So in this instance, you want to tell them that it did not support your hypothesis, and then you want to remind them what your hypothesis was. And so the more close friends a person has, the lower the first year GPA. That was our hypothesis. We're reminding the reader what that was, and then we're describing what that relationship was in relation. So that is the APA style. So you'll do the same thing for the next example, and then you're going to do it for 7b, which is actually this one right here. So you're just going to be getting these numbers, plugging them in, and then plugging them into this APA style table. So it's really easy when you kind of get the understanding behind it. but it's just important to remember a few basic APA things that you want to make sure that you're keeping your eye on. So other than that, it's really simple for correlations. We're not going to be doing many more difficult statistical tests. We're going to work on ANOVAs later, but for now, this is it. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or your professor, and we can talk you through it. Other than that, have a good rest of your day.